Alright, so I've got all my parts laid out here on the bench. Don't really have a good camera set up, so I'm just going to walk you through it before I build it. I've got my top horizontal pieces, my lower horizontal pieces, both of my legs, and I've got them all facing good side down because I'm going to be building this from the inside, screwing into it like so that with the leg is on the outside, all the screws are on the inside. Now at the top of the legs, I've got to drill 2 pocket hole screws for the arm to connect to. And for assembly, the top slat goes 17 inches along this edge. 17 inches. And then you're just going to line it up your 15 degree with the outside of the leg. You're going to use a 2x4 spacer, and then the bottom one just connects wherever that mark may be with this 2x4 spacer. Now once you get them all assembled, then your back slat comes in like so. It's going to bisect this corner, it's going to cut this corner, and then of course wherever this angle is flush with the bottom right here. So cutting across the top runner or slat, whatever you want to call it, top rail, and wherever it lines up right here. Alright, so when you're doing your assembly, you should end up with 2 sides that look like this. Here's the armrest. Everything is screwed in from the inside, and when you do screw everything in, you've got 2 diagonals from this corner to where they intersect over here, and then from this corner to where they intersect over here. You always want to go with the longest diagonal when you're screwing these in. Just gives you a little bit more distance in between the screws, which is more leverage on holding them together in case they want to twist. So basically your legs, 17 inches is where the top of your top rail goes, and then you use a 2x4 as a spacer for the bottom rail. At the top of each arm on the inside, you've got 2 pocket hole screws that are securing this armrest on. Now your armrest wants to be, I didn't get it quite on this one, but I normally put them flush with these 2 planes flush, screw them together that way that the rest of the armrest is going away from the center of the seat. Gives you a little bit more, I guess, elbow room inside the chair. The back support, it gets secured to the rails. The bottom is going to be flush with the bottom of the bottom rail, and it's aligned in such a way, front to back, that it intersects this top corner of the top rail. So once you just get this intersection and line it up down here, you're pretty much good to go. Now that being said, once you get the first one screwed on, when you do your second one, you might want to just put 1 screw in it and then line them up right, because one of them may be a little bit forward or backward depending on if you were 100% accurate. That's not really the main concern. Main concern is getting them in line with each other front to back on the same angle. So you may have to adjust one just slightly to where the bottom may be off just a tad, but that's no big deal. So that is the final configuration for each leg, and once you get them both built, then you're ready to assemble the slats and then that bottom support. Also keep in mind that you're building a left and you're building a right, so when you're building them from the inside, you obviously have this back support. On this particular one, it's going to be on the right with the armrest overhanging on the left. I just have it lined up with the point here. The back support on the right, armrest overhanging on the left. Your next piece that you're going to build will be back support on the left and armrest overhanging on the right. That way when you sandwich them together, your backs are on the same side and your front will be on the same side. So that is pretty much the inside configuration you're going to have. Once you have both of these arm assemblies completed, you're ready to put some slats in here. And the way I start that is with the first slat all the way up in the back here. So I'm going to, for the aid of screwing this down, I'm just going to, there we go, clamp this in place. I'm not going to put a lot of pressure on there because I have to adjust for square in just a second. Do the same on this side. Making sure that the end of the slat here is flush with the end of the bottom rail, and also making sure it's pushed all the way in the back. Then I'm going to take one of my speed squares and adjust the leg until I have my angle at 90 degrees. Once I have one side, I'll go ahead and screw it in place. Alright, that side's in place. Now I can adjust this side for square. Alright, that looks good to me. Let's go ahead and screw it down. Once that's done, it's a matter of just working your way forward and working your way up with these slats. Now what I like to do, of course you're taking the 21-inch pieces instead of the 24. Of course, good side up. Four goes on bottom, and then 5 go up the back. For spacing, what I like to do is just grab a couple of regular yellow pencils and use them to space out my joints. So just stick them in between and pull it back. Now, until I work my way forward, I'm just going to use a little bit of compression from these top slats to hold them in place. Sometimes, once you screw it in, if you screw it in on an angle, you want to grab that just a little bit. So, you want to screw these in as straight as you can. And my battery's dead. So 2 screws per slat, using the same spacer as you want. Given these dimensions to the cut list, I wouldn't go anything less than one of these pencils, because if you do, then you're going to leave no overhang right here, and your legs will be sticking out further than your front slats. Now you can go a little bit more. Like I've used a Sharpie on a couple of them for spacing on my earlier ones, but I find the Sharpie to be just a little bit too much. front screws, you can hang them back. Then we have less chance of splitting this top rail on there. Alright, once you have these in place, move my pencils back here. And you've got two more backrest slats that are the 21 inches. And this one's going to fit snug, so. Just a little persuasion there. So let's get this back started. This side popped out, so I'm going to move over here. If you guys have any questions about how any of this goes together, or the measurements, or anything really, I may not be the best at explaining things in these videos, but if you email me, I'll be glad to help. Now we're ready for the 24-inch boards. Now once you get to your 24-inch slats, you want to just make sure they're the same distance of an overhang on both sides, which should be, depending on how well these are completely vertical, they should be around 2 7/8. Close to 3, something like that. But just make sure they're even on both sides before you start screwing them down. Also, this is actually one of the spots where you really want to be careful screwing in 90 degrees to your board, because if you are on an angle, it's going to pull this off a little bit, and then none of your boards will end up looking straight on the ends.